Hey guys, it's Jira bro, back with another video. First things first, I want to wish everyone a happy new 2025 year. I wish you the very best, all of the success, love, happiness, basically success in every aspect of life. Now, let's get back to the video. In today's topic, we're gonna be talking about the releases. So the interconnection between the releases and the versions themselves. Now, why are actually releases being used? Releases are actually being used to actually have, releases within your project, and within your project you may have different versions that you're releasing. For example, you may have the version alpha, you may have the version beta, and etc. You may have version 1, we may have version 2, version 3, and all of those versions out there. So think of it as having your Android or iOS, like having the operating system version 17, operating system version 15, and so on and so forth. All of those are basically called like the versions themselves. Now, there are two ways on how releases work, and these are based on your project types. So you have the releases within the Kanban and you have the releases within the Scrum. There is a significant difference between these two. When it comes to the Kanban, you will see on here it's saying that there are no issues to be released. And it's saying in the Kanban itself the issue can be released and the version can be created when the issue goes from the to do or from the backlog in here into done. So I'm going to show you. All right, so I'm going to say version test. I'm going to be creating my issue right here. And yeah, it's saying that basically has a critical priority because I didn't go through the create screen itself. Okay, so from here, when I move this to done, as you can see, I get the release button in here. Now, what actually this means, when I have the option to create a version, and it's saying one issue will be released from the Kanban project. Okay, and I'm gonna type here alpha. And now it's saying like when was the release, when actually it happened. I'm gonna say, yeah, it happened today. All right, and now it's saying alpha has been released. Now what is the catch here? The catch here is when you go to your issue, when you open it, this option right here, fix versions, will have the value of alpha in here. Now, the thing is, can anyone actually set the versions in here or to populate the fix version field? No, because, well, what are actually the prerequisites in here? The prerequisites are in here are actually to have the resolve issues permissions. So when you go to your project settings in here, when you go to your permissions in here, I'm not talking about team managed projects in here at all. I'm solely talking about the company managed projects in here. Okay. And when you go to resolve issues, and it's saying this includes the ability to set a fixed version. If you have this option right here, you'll also be having the option to set the fixed version in here, as it was actually in here. So when I go to my issues in here, you're going to see that the version test actually has the fixed version of alpha. So the thing is, when you're working with releases. You want to make sure, if you don't see releases option on your left sidebar, you need to go to the project settings, you need to go to the features, and within the features themselves, you actually need to toggle this button right here that says releases. Now the question is, what is within the releases themselves? Well, I'm glad that you asked. So in here, I can create my own versions. I'm going to say version 1.0. And it's gonna ask me, okay, when the release date is going to be. And I'm going to say it's gonna be on the 1st of January 2025. So actually that means, since I'm saying the release is gonna be tomorrow, then the question is, okay, but what is it today? If I click on save, it's gonna say the status is actually unreleased. And it's saying in here the release date is the 1st of January. So this is the time when the version 1.0 will actually be released. The thing is, when it gets released, you can also you can change all of those issues to have the release version of 1.0. Now the thing is, if I go with issue in here, and if I say version 1, you're gonna see another thing. So if I go here within the done itself, and if I go for more fields in here, and if I search for fixed versions, it's gonna give me now two choices. Either it's gonna be unreleased, or the release itself, it's actually the alpha version. So I'm going to say, you know what, this is going to be the version 1.0. Now the another thing that that is also interesting, so as you can see, and now it's saying the progress, and I'm having the progress in here, and it's saying like one is done, but one is done like not like it has been released. It means that issue itself is actually within the done column. Now what happens if the January 1st comes and it's saying like the release date is on January 1st 2025? It actually needs to be released, and it will actually have the status of the released. The one thing that is also important thing to know, let me just see it in here, deployment structure-wise and deployment information, yeah, that is something different. Summary, yeah, the summary is okay because it's this option right here. And now it's saying like I have a fixed version of 1.0, and that is interesting. There are some other things that you can actually do within the releases themselves, and these are actually the actions that you have within the releases themselves. So you have the action to archive the release, you have the action to merge the release, to edit the release, or delete the release. Edit and delete is like self-explanatory. I believe that you can understand basically how it works. Let's say that before version 1 I was having like let's say pre-release, okay, and I'm saying, yeah, this is the release, and I'm going to say pre-release here, and I'm going to move this. Now since it's in done, I can set fixed versions for here, and I can say still unreleased. I'm going to say pre-release. Now what also I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my releases, and I'm going to say release. Now when you release an issue, what is going to happen here? It's gonna ask you to create the release notes. This is actually pretty handy to have. What happens in here is if I click on release, it's gonna take me to the Confluence in here. And what I can actually do is release notes, Kanban project pre-release, and I'm going to say save release notes. Now, the question is, can I access this? And the answer is yes, I can. So this is what you get when you actually access your release. You have like the related working here, and within the related working here, it's saying these are some release notes that I have in here. What you can also do is add links, release notes, and you can actually add more. So basically to add a business calendar, test report, change request, analytics dashboard, or basically to add an item. What else do you have? So you have add your own text in here, so that is something that you can do, and you can also add the items. If you have, for example, some of the designs that are actually tied to, let's say, the release of pre-release, sorry, you can actually add those designs in here as well. I don't have any designs in here, so I'm not going to add anything. As you can see, now it's here, it's saying released, but the thing is, you can do the unrelease and you can do the archive. So what happens when it's basically like on the archived side? So, and it's actually in the archived side. If I go back now to releases, and it's saying now it's archived. So if I go back to my Kanban board, and if I go to my issues, it's for the pre-release, and it's still saying like, oh, this is it, but now it's like archived. And then I unarchive it, and then in order for it to be active again, it's either going to be released or it's going to be unreleased. That is also an option to have in there. Okay, so that is one thing. When it comes to Scrum, on the other hand, as you can see, you don't have the release button in here just yet. Why? Because all of the versions and everything related to the versions themselves is located in your backlog. So this right here, beta, so beta actually right here is the fixed version actually in here. So if I go for my releases, this is what I have. So I have, okay, that is a lot of done issues. Okay, I don't know how much accurate this is, but whatever. And if I actually click on this, so this is what it's going to say to me, and it's saying like I have done, the done issues is 8,092 issues, and then I have in progress, and I have to do, and I also have some of those that are actually in the warning itself. So see all of those that are marked in yellow, that is actually warning, this issue has unreviewed code. Now what you can also do from here is you can actually move this to alpha, beta, or to view all versions in here. So that is another action that you can basically do. So if I go back to releases once more, and I go here, these are the options that I have. Now what is actually the merge option? Merging of the versions is basically like you have two small versions and you just combine them into one big version. that is what is actually happening in there. So here's the question though. So let's say I have Kanban, right? And I have merge 1, going to have merge, also going to have merge 2, and also I'm gonna have the merge free option. Okay, now what happens in here if I go to my releases, and if I go to, let's say, mini version 1, and I save, and then I go mini version 2, for example, and I go for mini version 3. Okay, now the question is, can I also change the fixed versions in here? Yes, I can. It doesn't have actually to be in the done status. When it's in the done status, you get the release button available. But you can set these versions in here. So, and this is going to be the mini version 2. And in here, I'm going to go with mini version 3. Go back to my releases in here. So what is it saying now? As you can see, the progress has changed, and it's saying like 1 to do. Now, I wanna do the merging. So, merge into what? Version 3. Merge into version 3. So I don't have these two versions anymore. What happens to those issues? So if I go back to the merge now, now it's even saying mini version 1 still, and it's now saying mini version 3. So that is what happens. So if you merge two versions, if you merge versions into that specific version, all of those issues, all of those versions that are getting merged are gonna be lost, when actually not lost, they're actually now part of the let's say bigger version, if I can call it right now. See, it's mini version 3, and if I go here, mini version 3, if I go here, mini version 3. So that means it takes the last version that is actually in there. So if I go to releases in here, now what is it going to say? The progress now is free in to do. Now the question is, can this be changed? Yes. For example, it's in progress now. You go for fixed versions, and I say mini version 3. What happens? There needs to be one in progress here. Ah, there we go. So one is in progress and 3 are in to do, and when I click on this, it's gonna say that very same thing. Now, the question is, can you actually see this on your timeline? Well, as you can see, you indeed can. So this is how your versions are being presented. So you have like pre-release here, and you also have those that are released also in here. So I can say highlight this on the timeline, and I can say highlight this on the timeline, and I can highlight this on the timeline as well. And as we can see, now we have these two that are highlighted in here, it's even saying releases. So if the question was, can you actually add that to the timeline? The answer is you sure can. Yeah, so that is the that is something that I want to talk about, the releases. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the new year. Bye.